Hey, patrons. Great to see you. It's the March 13th, and this is your bi-monthly, semi-monthly, I'm not sure which is correct, little zap from Little Egypt Art Center. And for myself, how y'all doing? Tonight is daylight savings time, which is my favorite time of the year. Means that the nights will be a little bit brighter. So I'm gonna read a little story for you, but first I just want to let you know what's going on here. With your support, we've started some demolition renovation on one of the two buildings that is make up the complex, 502 North Market. Taking a lot of the roof off, and we're taking part of the floor out so that we can redo it, make it safe for performances and people to come in. Also, May 8th, this is exciting if you're in town. May 8th, we're doing a benefit for our friend Vic, Vikram Singh. He runs a place called Vic's Bread and Brew on Market Street. And on May 8th, we're doing a show, some rock and roll. We have the Laybacks, Amongst Vultures, the Mighty Death Mountain Spiders, Creep Diet, Dump Trucker, Itter with a small I, and FBA. And that's all going to be at Vic's Bread and Brew May 8th. Doors open at 4:30. Show starts at 5:30. $5 door charge and rock and roll. So that's going to happen May 8th. And yeah, other than that, a lot of good stuff is going on. It's going to be a good year. In about 2 weeks, it'll be exactly 2 years since we moved into this place. And my experience has been it usually takes about 5 years to plant something and have it be something. So we're barely halfway through. A lot of good stuff's going on. All right. So I'm going to read you a short story. This is the opening story from Ruined Beauty and Other Stories. Collection of mine that all the stories have to do with Mount Carmel, which in the fictional universe is St. Lincoln. So this is the opening story. It's called Wildflower. Wildflower. Ty was tired of it. Over and over and on, and how much could a body take? What's that short for? Tyrone? Tiberius? Laughter. Tyrannosaurus? It's just Ty. It's just what? He shouldn't have spoken, shouldn't have given them an in. What was going to happen was going to happen, and there was no sense in helping it along. The older boys leaned in. The girl lit a cigarette and sucked in the smoke. They were alone in the church parking lot with everyone else inside the church and no cars driving by. Just the four of them in the world. Ty could hear the choir doing their holy, holy thing, so that meant church was right in the middle, and it would be another half hour or so before it ended, and the priest let the people leave. The older boys, not that much older really, were Sam Dredlow and his friend from Evansville, Ethan. Not really Evansville, but close enough, so it counted. Ethan was black and used the fact to scare white kids out here in the sticks. He just showed up and people got nervous. Sam and Ethan were drunk on watermelon 99s, and it wasn't even noon. The girl wanted to be drunk with them, but they were more interested in messing with Ty than messing with her, so she smoked and waited and watched Ty suffer. He said it was just Ty. That was Ethan. Like a necktie? The girl laughed without finding it funny. It wasn't funny. Sam pushed Ty suddenly in the chest with his right hand, fingers splayed out. Ty stood his ground but rocked back a little. Ty was bigger than Sam, but Sam was older and mean. Sam knew how to fight and liked to do it whenever he had the opportunity. He'd fight guys he knew could beat him just to be fighting. He was only 17, but he had scars like an old man. His left cheek was smashed in, giving his face a weird, lopsided look, and someone had cut up his neck once, and he had just let it heal up by itself, no hospital or doctors. So it was red and gnarled and raised where it met his jaw. "Lend me $5. Here it came. Here was the point. They weren't going to beat him up, just rob him. Ty stared down at the asphalt. "Yeah," the girl. "Hey." Sam shoved Ty again in the chest, this time harder, so Ty had to take a step back. He looked up from the ground into Sam's ruined face. "I'll pay you back." Ethan had closed in on Ty's side and started going through Ty's pockets, feeling him up a bit as he did it. He pulled Ty's wallet out of the back pocket, and Sam took it, smiling. Ty had $30 on him. It was gone into Sam's pocket, and the wallet was tossed down between them and lay at Ty's feet empty. The girl laughed, and Sam popped Ty hard right in the face and laughed without any happiness or anything at all, and the three of them walked off. Ty wiped the blood from his nose and mouth with the back of his hand, which didn't do anything but get blood on his hands, so he used the front of his shirt. The choir inside the church was beautiful, full-voiced, singing something about Jesus and his love, and Ty bled and listened to them and wondered what the hell he was supposed to do now. He came in the back, catching the screen door behind him so it wouldn't slam, since his mother was still sleeping off Saturday night. Ty's mother was a beautician when she was working, which made sense since she was a beauty. Everyone said so. She hadn't worked in a while, but she had gone to school for it and had a license or something like that, a piece of paper with a stamp and her full name on it on the wall in the kitchen. He sat on his bed in his room in the heat. The old box fan just blew the hot air on him. It didn't cool anything down. It was August. It was southern Illinois. And it was hot, God, hot. And it would be all day unless the sky boiled over and it rained like the end of the world for a few minutes. Then the sun would come back and burn it all away like it never happened. He sat with his elbows on his knees and his head down. And you wouldn't know it looking at him, but he was going 1,000,000 miles an hour. There was always something rumbling and throbbing in the back of Ty's brain and his blood and deep in his body, deep below the muscles and bones, something that wasn't him. It was angry and wild, and Ty knew that whatever it was stronger than him. He'd known that all his life. Ty and his mother lived on Ash between 4th and 5th out by the municipal ballpark next to old John Trover's place. Trover was at least 90, maybe 100. He had been in World War II, and Ty took care of him and took his money. He'd been cutting the old man's grass since he was a kid, but as Trover got older and weaker, he started doing just about everything for him, getting his groceries, making meals, keeping the house in some kind of basic order. Trover got 2 checks every month, Social Security and a pension, and they were over $1,200, and Ty could forge his signature and cash them out at first mid. The house was long since paid for, and electric and water weren't more than $300, so Ty had taken to holding back $700 or $800 a month. He'd been doing it for 4 years, and he kept the money in an old brownie camera case under a loose floorboard on his closet floor. He didn't have anything to spend it on, but it made him feel safe for some reason to know it was there. Trover's wife had died years ago before Ty was born, and his children had all moved west or east or some other direction and didn't have anything to do with the old man. Trover drank and never wanted a family. He let his wife raise the kids, and when she died, he just let them go on with their lives. Some men don't have it in them to be fathers, and Trover was one of those men. 2 weeks after the church parking lot, Sam and Ethan drove past Ty walking down Hind and pulled up next to him. "Tiberius, I don't have any money." "Did I ask you for money? Damn, man, I have money." Ethan laughed in the driver's seat. Sam studied Ty, laughed. He said, "Get in, man. I'm cool. Get in the car, man." Ty climbed in the back of Ethan's piece of shit Chevy, and they drove off. Sam had a plan and needed a third guy to make it work. He passed a half-empty bottle of Bacardi back to Ty in the back seat. "You want some real money? I'm cool." Ty took a hit of the Bacardi, let it burn away some of the fear. He wasn't afraid of Sam or Ethan, but he didn't know where this was headed, and he was more afraid of what he might end up doing. The thing inside of him was wide awake, and it was a magnet for bad decisions, always had been. They drove to the city park and parked, and Sam told Ty about his uncle's gun shop over in Danville, and how his uncle was in Florida for the weekend, and the shop was closed, but Sam had a key. Ethan is a guy who'll buy guns. Ethan nodded at this. He didn't really, but he knew he could find somebody who did. They killed the bottle and waited for it to get dark. Sam and Ethan smoked all their cigarettes, and Ty sat in the back racing. He knew that what was coming was stupid and wrong and dangerous, but there wasn't anything else going on that day or week or lifetime, so he stayed in the car and listened to the radio and Sam talking to Ethan about pussy and sports. The Blues were making an improbable run for the Stanley Cup, and Sam was a diehard fan. Ethan didn't care about hockey, but he let Sam fill him in. Around 8:30, they drove out to the shop. Sam said there weren't any cameras, because when he worked for his uncle the year before, there weren't any cameras. But his uncle had gotten smart and installed 3 of them. And the cameras watched and recorded Ty stealing 49 handguns. Sam said that Ethan had the car and he had the idea, so Ty had to do the work. And Ty didn't say anything to that. He just took the 2 empty athletic bags and went in and loaded up the guns. The next day, Ty's uncle and Sergeant McWilliams of the St. Lincoln Police Department watched Ty steal the guns, and McWilliams picked them up, charged him, and held him in the county jail without bail until trial. The prosecutor was going through an ugly divorce, and his teenage son had chosen his mother, that whore, to live with over him, and whether he knew he was doing it or not, he poured all of his frustration and sorrow and hurt onto Ty and tried him as an adult and pushed for the maximum sentence. The judge didn't give a shit, and they sent Ty up to Springfield for 8 years. Ty was big for his age and beefy like his dad, so he didn't have much trouble in Springfield. He kept himself mostly, made a few friends, guys from St. Lincoln in on stupid shit like him. He kept his head down and got through it. In Springfield, time was divided into weeks, and the weeks were carved into days, and the days were the same except Sunday when you had church and didn't have to work. Ty turned 18 and then 21, but it didn't matter much since you couldn't drive or vote or buy a drink behind bars. One morning, they released Ty's sentence served, and he rode the bus back to St. Lincoln. Nothing had changed. People he knew were older. Some had jobs and most had kids, but they were the same people. The town clocked the jail tattoos on his neck and hands and the new straight teeth the prison dentist had put in and left him alone. His mother was gone off to Kentucky or somewhere. She had visited him when he first went up and sent him birthday and Christmas cards for a few years, but that had ended. A couple with kids had bought the house on Ash, and Ty stood on the sidewalk and looked at it. Half wanted to walk in and introduce himself, half wanted to burn it to the ground. After a few minutes, the guy walked out and asked him what he wanted, and he didn't know, so he walked over to Trover's porch next door and sat down. Trover had died while Ty was inside, and the house had gone to the county and was slowly sinking into the earth. Ty got smart, went to the courthouse, and bought it at auction for $900, an entire house, front and backyard, $900. He slipped into his old bedroom window one night, got the cash from out of the closet floor. It was sitting there, unknown and waiting, and paid cash for the place. He got on a line at the Toyota plant in Kingston and settled down and tried to live a life. He hooked up with a girl from the church parking lot, but neither of them remembered that. He hadn't known her hardly at all back then, and a person can change almost entirely over 8 years. She had lost what baby fat and sweetness she had had once and was now a woman, still pretty, but chiseled from the years getting by. Her dark eyes were hard now, and she had picked up the habit of squinting at the world, either trying to scare it off or anticipating another blow. She was Tamara Goff, and they had a baby. Ty was happy to have a child, but didn't want a wife, and Tammy was all right with that. The 3 of them lived in Trover's old place, and it was all right. His daughter was born on a perfect fall morning without hardly any labor at all, and she was Raven Sky Dawn D. Ty gave her his last name, no hyphens or anything like that. Time passed and the girl grew. One spring morning, Ty sat on John Trover's porch and watched his daughter in the dirt of what was once the front yard. He had mowed that yard probably 100, 200 times. Now it was gray dirt and dust and pebbles and rocks. Raven was concentrated fully on a stalk of wildflower that had found some purchase in the dead soil and reached for the sunlight above them. Hey, she didn't look up. The flower was her world. Hey, kid. Yellow flower, green stalk. You're beautiful. Raven turned and stared at her father. Ty was held in her eyes for an electric, eternal, present moment, and then she turned back to the flower, stretching to reach the sky. So that's Wildflower. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your patronage. If you like what you're seeing and hearing, tell your friends, tell your family, tell strangers on the street, and have them sign up as well. All right. Thank you all. Happy Daylight Savings Time.